We are live now.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Conversation with Sam. Today, our topic will be on leadership. What does it truly mean to lead in today's complex and fast changing world? How must leadership evolve to meet the demands of new generation, emerging technologies, and a shifting global order? Mr. Sam Pitroda will share his perspectives on the qualities that define effective leadership, the difference between authority and influence, and lessons from leading national missions and global initiatives. This session is designed to spark a dialogue, reflection, and learning, especially for young fellows, students, and aspiring changemakers looking to lead with impact and integrity. So, without further ado, I would now request Sam Pitroda, sir, to address our audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Priyamvada. Thank you, Pendra. Greetings, everyone. Leadership has been discussed and is being discussed every day. It is such a complex and broad subject that it finds space in newspapers, magazines, universities, debate, discussions, political circles, and everyone has their own idea of leadership because everyone is trying to optimize something different. Everyone has their own style, their own perceptions. And today, leadership has become very important because we live in a very complex world and it requires complex system understanding to be a truly great leader. What people consider great leaders are not necessarily good leaders. And what people consider are not that great leaders are perhaps very good leaders. So it depends on what you are trying to optimize, where are you looking from. There was a conference in 1997 in Interlaken, Switzerland, where four speakers were invited to speak on leadership. Each one was given 4 hours to speak. I was one of the lucky ones to get invited. And you had to share your experiences for 4 hours on leadership. So I then had put together a little presentation. I want to use that because even after about 20 years, this presentation is more relevant today than ever before to me. So I'm going to share with you. Unfortunately, today I have a pretty jam-packed schedule, so I'll have to leave in about 30 minutes. And I've requested Upendra and Priyambada to continue conversation with you all. I have a meeting on Global Gandhi board meeting. And then after that, I have a presentation with Gopio on AI. So this morning is pretty tight. Unfortunately, there is conflict. So my apology in advance. Upendra, can you go to the next slide, please? So first I talked about my own story, which is not important today in this conversation. But I had to tell people who didn't know me at Interlaken that well about who am I, where do I come from, where are my roots, and how do I travel my journey where I was to where I am, and what it meant and the lessons I learned in the process. We all learn lessons based on our own journey. Who we interact with, what do we see, where do we live, what kind of family environment, friends, education, experience, and ultimately it boils down to values. What do you really value in life? And I think this is a fundamental message for leadership. What do you really value? If you value only money and profit, then you do all kinds of things as a leader. You hurt people, you break laws, you cheat, and you are still considered a very good leader because you made a lot of money and people value money. Same in politics. If you are connive, if you are authoritarian, if you are a terror and you succeed, people consider you as a great leader because you are trying to optimize power. And then there are leaders like Gandhiji who are trying to optimize service to others, Mandela. And then there is a different demand. So let's go to the next slide, please. So at the end of the day, leadership is all about performance. What is your vision? How do you work towards that vision? And what do you value? Can you deliver? At one time, Jack Welch was considered to be one of the greatest leader in the business. But look at what happened to GE. So now people are beginning to revisit his leadership and say, what did he try to optimize? Why isn't GE a $1 trillion company if he was a great leader? So what makes sense today may not make sense tomorrow unless you stick to values. Leaders are also products of an era, their own experiences, defining moments in their life, challenges they face, ecosystem they live in, and the problems they are trying to solve. Bigger the problem you are trying to solve, bigger the leader you are. Why are Mandelas and Martin Luther Kings and Gandhis and others considered great leaders? Because they tried to solve a big problem. If you're trying to solve a little problem, you're a little leader, which is fine, nothing wrong with it. Leaders also have different styles. There are visionary leaders, there are heroes people worship, there are pragmatic, tyrant, liberators, intuitive leaders, organizers, analytical leaders who work on figure and facts, father figure, people's servant like Gandhiji and others, and strategist. So these are different styles of leaders. There is no one kind of leader that meets all of these needs. Next. Ultimately, leadership is all about institution building. You got to build people and institutions to deliver because there isn't much you can do by yourself. Dhirubhai Ambani used to say that leader has to look back and see if anybody is following you. If nobody is following you, you can't be much of a leader. If there is a very large crowd following you, you get the message. Yeah. The other day, I was looking at a picture of Pandit Nehru's funeral. And just looking at that picture, you can see what kind of a leader was he. Leaders are also about process re-engineering. They have to bring about change. They have to empower people. They have to innovate. They have to create values. Leadership is also about public perception. What do people think about you? There is personal wisdom and there is public wisdom. Leadership is also about media management. What do you say? How do you say? Whom do you say? And how much you say? To me is a piece of art. It is not a science. Leadership is also about resource mobilization. You got to dream big. And ultimately, you have to lead to victory, whatever victory means. Victory may mean getting independence, building a business, in today's Silicon Valley term, build unicorn, but with what value? And these are the issues that really define leadership. Next. To me, leadership is all about self. It begins with self and it ends with self. What it means is you got to be inside very clear as to what kind of a character you have, what discipline, loyalty, concerns, clarity, values, compassion, courage you have built. You need perseverance, you need education, you need assertiveness, humility. You got to love yourself to love others. So you got to have good, stable self esteem. You got to have passion for what you do. But in the process, you got to be honest. You can't hurt people because it'll bite you back at some point in time. You got to be very sincere. You got to be consistent. You also have to be, in your own way, charismatic, hopeful. All of these things matter. You can't say, I have five of these and not other five. Not that everyone has all of this, but you need to be conscious of it. You need to develop it. You need to learn about it. You need to be open to criticism. And you need to accept that these are my deficiencies and I need to work at it. Next. But everything gets so complex at the end of the day that it outstrips the ability of one person to carry on alone. Believe me, it gets very lonely at the top because everybody's pushing their agenda. Everybody wants you to do what they want you to do. People come to you and say, sir, you should do this, you should do that. That fellow said this fellow said that. No, no, this is right, that is not right. Who do you listen to? So you have to develop that skill saying if Mr. X says, divide by 2. Mr. Y says, 80% right. Mr. or Miss Z says, divide by 5. Not that you are right on that, but you got to build your own formula, your own judgment. And in your circle, you need to cultivate friends who know, who care, and who tell you. You need people to process your ideas, your institutions, your development, your funding. Like I run 5 nonprofits. I have great 5 leaders. I build them. I work with them over a period of time. And without them, I can't work. And every once in a while, things go wrong. So you fix it. But you have to constantly work on investing in your own ecosystem to change effectiveness and longevity. Because people change, people move, people have personal interests, people get into trouble on their own and they don't realize it reflects in their work. So you have to realize that complexity of managing requires team, people, ecosystem, connections. Let's look at next slide. So I really worked very hard over a period of time to build my global network of friends and family. In my universe, I know these are concept people. These are people on whom I can test an idea. These are the people who will help me in actions. Okay. And you got to build a very strong team around you. I remember my wife many times will say, why do you have friends like this? What do you have to do with all the movie stars and actors and musicians and, painter? And I would tell her that, look, this is part of my ecosystem. Okay. I have to live with that ecosystem. Okay. And If I don't strengthen my ecosystem, if I don't learn from them, I can't develop my leadership. Next. So I have systematically built and invested in friends who are experts in technologies, whether it is Winton Cerf or five other top global technology people, economists, doctors, psychiatrists, entrepreneurs, businessmen, lawyers, bankers, scientists, intellectuals, social thinkers, NGOs. In each of these categories, I have probably 5 to 10 friends. And these are close friends. I can pick up phone and call them. I know their families. I know their work. We enjoy when we meet. We have dinners together whenever we get chance. And this is a lot of investment. Okay. Just last night, I had to go to dinner because I had a friend who was a well-known journalist who used to write for Chicago Tribune, was in town. And general thinking was, oh, why are you going to spend 3, 4 hours with him? That's a lot of time. But it was important because I had to make that investment. So building network is about sacrifice. It is not a transaction. It's a process. And if you take these 20 categories and you say, I have 5 to 10 friends in each category, you're talking about 100 people, 50 people that you need to really, really be very close to. And believe me, it's not easy. It's very complicated to build this relationship. And you got to find the right level of people. It can't be just anybody. You can't have any lawyer. You got to have the best of the best lawyers. Okay. One of my great lawyer friend died, Paul Miller. And Paul was a close friend for 40 years here in America. And Paul was like a family. Paul and his wife will come home. We'll go to dinner. He knew my kids. He knew my father-in-law. He knew my parents. And Paul was a great lawyer in Chicago. Very famous lawyer. Worked at Sun and Shine Card in Nath. But you got to invest. And it takes time. Next one. To me, technology is a great social leveler, second only to death. It brings two human beings on equal footing when you start talking about technology. People forget your caste. People forget you're black or white or brown. And technology is the key. It is not something fancy, exotic, foreign, intimidating. It's an entry point to change about systems. And technology has to be user friendly. It has to be humanized and it has to be simplified. Next. Again, remember this was 20 years ago. Information is power, and not many people like to share. Now, because of AI, things have changed. It is no longer about information, it's about knowledge. Then it was information. Now, AI gives me knowledge out of information. I don't have to derive knowledge. I don't have to read information. I don't have to read 50 articles at the same time, summarize and give me the essence of it. AI does that. But information and knowledge brings about openness, accessibility, connectivity, networking, democratization, decentralization, and as a result, social transformation. Information culture is critical to productivity, efficiency, all of that. Okay, next. My role model always has been Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. He wore no uniform, commanded no armies, had no government position, but he led the movement to decolonize the entire world ultimately. He lived by the gospel of truth and nonviolence, but he emphasized single standard of conduct in public and private life. Most of the leaders have double standards. Their public life is very different than private life. It's always showmanship. It's always positioning. It is always using that moment to make your point, even if you have to lie, cheat, humiliate other person, be vindictive. Gandhi had personal virtues and public values combined. You can't have these two standards. He was driven by the life of service to others. His life was his message: truth, simplicity, courage, conviction, spirituality, and determination. Next. I also learned early in my life about karma. To cope with the success and failure, focus on karma. Old Indian philosophy, which we learned consciously, unconsciously when we were young. Don't have any attachment to the outcome of the activity. When we were kids, your father would say, go get something. You got it done. You never asked why, when, now, oh, I'm playing. Yeah, there's no such thing. The respect for others became very important. But at the same time, you have to be independent of the opinion of others. What would they say? How would I look? Would I fit in their circle or not? Oh, they are all very rich. No, it doesn't matter what they say. If they say you look good, you don't look good, you're dumb, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Many times, some criticism will be in the newspaper about me, and my wife would read it. And I said, I don't read it. And she said, but look what somebody's saying. I said, that's all right. They are entitled to say that. It's perfectly normal for them to say that. Someday, maybe they'll figure out that they were wrong. But I'm not going to correct them. You need to work for the sake of work. Do not look for rewards or returns. When I came to America in a family of 8, I automatically assumed that it is my job to bring all my brothers and sisters to America, get them educated, make sure they get settled, call my parents here, call my wife's brother and father here because her mother had died. And nobody asked me to do it. It was seen as your karma. That's your karma. And you never worried about how much you spent, what happened to money. Just, you did all that because it was your karma. Your one sister was in the library, you have to go pick her up. Your another sister was coming on a train station, you pick her up. Her husband was doing something, you do that. That was the joy of your karma. The most important thing in life that I learned is do the right thing versus do things right. Don't worry about doing things right. Don't get hung up in micromanagement, but worry about macros. So always focus on doing right things and not doing things right. Very simple lesson. At the same time, you need to learn to exercise leadership and accept leadership simultaneously. In India, I find that people can either exercise leadership, ye karo, wo karo, do this, do that, or accept leadership. Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. You can't do both. The karma says enjoy the journey as opposed to destination. Keep traveling on the path. Keep doing things that you need to do. Don't look back. Don't look to get rewards. Rewards are in the journey. Believe me, this is a simple lesson, but hard to follow. Next. Next. So in the 21st century, leadership will need truth and absolute truth. I believe that is going to happen, is happening to some extent. Simplicity, sacrifice, concern for poor and minority, which is my main concern. Okay. Because if we don't bring benefits to everybody, and if we don't focus on humanity, we haven't done our job. At the end of the day, people matter. Nothing else matters. To me, religion don't matter. To me, money don't matter. What matters is people. So you got to love everybody. You got to have development which is sustainable. You got to commit to democracy to empower people. That's the idea of democracy. You got to focus on young because that's the future. You got to be sensitive to environment and you got to have global outlook and approach. Next. To lead, you need 10 different minds combined. You need discipline, analytical, creativity, respect for others, ethical. You got to be global. You got to be multidisciplinary. You can't say, this is not my field. I don't know that. You have to learn. You have to engage. You got to be entrepreneurial. You got to be energetic. And you got to be innovative. I believe this is the last slide, right? Ah, so in summary, my life is my message. That's the lesson from Gandhi. You got to live leadership. You got to do right things versus doing things right. You got to merge public and personal standards. You got to be open, honest, sincere, and fair. You got to encourage young and women. And you always have to review, reflect, revise, and change yourself. I change myself all the time. I learn from people like you, and I learn from my, younger colleagues. With this, I want to thank you and move on and leave it to you. I hope this was useful.
Very much, sir. Wish you the best for
Okay, and I will connect
the
you
Yes.
next week.
other two
Thanks. Good
presentations.
luck, both of you.
All right,
Yes.
thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
So, Priyamada, let's keep this open. I think maybe
Yeah.
this is a very good summary. And again, a very open conversation. Just to adding on top of what Sam was alluding towards.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I think we need to understand is leadership is not about position.
Yeah.
It's about the influence. It's about the inspiring other people. Uh, I think it's a very complicated topic, and most of the population you see is start to take leadership as more towards position driven, right? But again, how many people, as Sam was saying, let's look backwards. How many people are following you? It's about the influence. It's all about sharing the vision and driving those people towards the common vision. Uh, I run a people's business, currently, and I always say this to my team and to others as well. I'm as strong as my team. So the goal has to be somehow not really where I want to, as if we start thinking in the leadership terms, maybe where I want to see myself in 10, 15 years down the road. It has to be around where I want to see my team in 10 to 15 years. It's about nurturing leaders. That's kind of my take on that, Priyamada. Please feel free to kind of chime in here. It's a very
Yeah.
open conversation. I'll keep sharing whatever little experience I have. This is a bigger platform than that, but I can always share my thoughts here as well.
Absolutely. Also, what Sir said was that like his idol is Gandhi ji, and there's one viewer who is saying that why are we covering Gandhi ji and Mandela because they are outdated? I don't think so, because if you go to slide 11, like we have because Gandhi ji is the epitome of courage, truth, and an absolute role model of in actually for today's environment, like what we are facing back all over the world, like even in the US and even in India. There's cowardice, there is, um, there is lack of truth. We are lacking, lack of truthful leaders who are doing, as Sir said, we should always do the right things, not think about doing things right. So I think Gandhi ji and Mandela will be a role model always. They will never be outdated. That was my take on one of the questions from the viewers. But absolutely. So what? How have you, like? Can you just share, like, from your own experience? as a team leader, as a a leader, how what challenges have you faced and um, throughout your journey?
See, again, we are living in this dynamic environment, Priyamada, right? So one of the common, I won't say challenge, but one of the things to be really thinking about is that we are managing a team coming from different generations. We have like Gen Z, like we have other generations as well. I have people in my team who are elder than me, But again, what makes it easier to manage is that shared vision, that open communication, that one thing I always say is my job is to enable you, right, to all my team members, right? And I
Absolutely.
want to see them taking my role over a period of time so that I can move to the next. It's not about holding the position, as I briefly mentioned in the beginning as well. It is not at all about the position that you hold. It is about how influence, how much people you can influence, and it's all about the influence. Now, influence is one word that has changed recently. Influencer doesn't mean what we are used to seeing these days, right? But influence as in influencing the generation, influencing your team, really kind of keeping them engaged and motivated, so they can deliver to the best. A lot of times, I hear people about something personal. Of course, it could be related to anything related to personal, right? But when it comes to the business, I say this is not your problem. This is my problem. You just focus on work. Just send it my way, whatever your concerns are, and I'll take over it. So it's also about creating an environment where one is helping each other. It's also about even from a business perspective, leadership is not about business or the work that you're doing. Leadership goes across, as Sam was also alluding towards, is it also goes in your family, in your friend circle, or wherever you are. It's not only about the business. Now, having said that, you have to enable people, you have to keep them motivated, engaged, and you have to be part of the team. It's all about the team. The word changes from I to we
We.
in a leadership environment. So some of these thoughts are there. Second thing is after COVID, post COVID, it used to be much more human, face to face interactions. It has changed drastically. Now it's more remote. Like we are talking, you are probably at this time in India or maybe traveling to UK somewhere in between, Priyamada, right? But we are so used to it, so that
Yeah.
personal touch, being able to break breads together, uh, that is not happening that often. So that has definitely created some gap, basically, right? Uh, Again, the only way to address that is maybe find some time wherever you can meet. I travel a lot, so wherever I'm traveling for other work and purposes, but I make sure I'm trying to reach out to the people I know, right, and able to spend some time with them.
Absolutely.
Again, very tied to that is around the technology, right? So that again, that is also kind of adding to or reducing the human touch, basically, right?
Yes.
People would pick up the phone, talk about what's going on there, but today, think about it, everything is already on social media. You know how people are doing. So that transaction between even just a phone call has reduced significantly. Not let alone if we leave the fact that we would go see people, meet them, basically, right? That was already disrupted by the telephonic conversation, but now even further by all the social media.
Absolutely. Also, with with the coming of AI, and with we see social media influencers all over the place. But what we lack today, according to me, is like in this slide itself, we say that the leader, like what Gandhiji had, was truth, conviction, simplicity, spirituality, courage, and determination. So I believe that current leaders today, they lack. Not all, like we have exceptional leaders, but most of them lack back home, like in India. Uh, many of them, like those in power today, they lack these qualities. And I believe that once we have this in each one of us, I think, each one of us can become a leader in our own small little way. And as sir said, that there are either two types of leaders in India, that one are accepting leaders and one are like receiving, like one are the leaders and one are like receiving on the end. So we can be, as you mentioned, correctly mentioned, it should be a teamwork. It should be like a coordination. There shouldn't be an authority in today's age. That's what I believe. uh,
Absolutely. Very well said, Priyamada. Now, to add on to that, I say leadership is also like, let's understand this, right? So, true leadership, I think, is also about creating more leaders, not really the followers. Creating followers
Absolutely.
is easy, right? But again, in this whole ecosystem, to be successful, like, one cannot be successful alone. You have to be successful together as a team. So, as a part of a true leadership trait, I believe leaders should create more leaders, not really the followers. So that's
Absolutely.
aspect or way of looking at things.
Absolutely. So there is one. I think Kiran. He's a regular viewer. He's just has his own take. I'll just read out
Mhm.
aloud. So one of my takes on leadership is that leaders can be conduits of facilitating achievement of goals and not be holier than thou attitude. Absolutely true. But rather move the needle constantly towards goals in continuous fashion.
It's,
Absolutely correct. Yeah.
it's very, very rightly said, Kiran. Like, again, it's leadership is not a destination. It's not a goal that, like, I need to reach there to be a leader. It's a daily trait. It's a daily choice. It's a process. Every day, every moment, everything that you do, like, defines your personality, defines, like, about the leadership. So, very, very relevant is, like, again, from a leadership perspective, is to understand it's not a destination, it's not a goal, it's a continuous process, like, and it's, as Sam was also saying, uh, it is a continuous learning process. Like, one has to learn constantly. Like, every day there is something more to learn, right? It can never end, can never stop.
Absolutely. Also, there was an interesting slide where he mentioned about your environment, like when he mentioned about his friend circle, like he
Mhm.
segregated. That was an interesting concept, where you have different network of people of different specialization. Like he said, I would have friends to help from different professions. I think this is a good take on how one should improve or increase friend circles and categorize into different sections, so that uh, it is always helpful, and it is always a to and fro dealings when we deal with people. When we have a wider circle, it not only helps us in developing our personality, but also in contributing towards a greater good in our community, in our friend circles, or a society as a whole. So I found this a
No,
very, yeah.
absolutely, Premada. I'm sure you might have already noticed that. And again, on the people on the call, uh, whoever has interacted with Sam personally or have some personal connections, right? Uh, Whenever I'm talking to him, like, and at least, like, maybe, of course, we talk very frequently, but whenever the conversation goes towards some area, like, let's talk about maybe doctors and all, he's gonna name, like, he has the best of the best in his circle, like, across the world. And I'm not talking about India or US. So
Yeah.
you name, like, okay, this is what is going on. I was talking to doctor. Oh, I have a good friend, like, go there, basically, right? So again, totally, I can resonate. Like, all my conversations, regular conversations with Sam, where he has built such a great network, and it could be even more than that, basically. And he's still continuously building it. Like, so that is one really charismatic personality Sam has to kind of, like, stick people around him.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to ask you like a personal question. Like from you, you have
Mhm.
met Rahul Gandhi ji when he was in the US. Could you like he's a great leader. So could you share your experience of meeting with him? How what kind of a leader he is?
Uh, all right. You're putting me on the spot here, like, steering towards the
Just
political.
not
But
very
again,
briefly, not
very,
very
very, very
detailed.
high level, like, let me say this. A great personality, very transparent, like, very honest, and anybody who's going to meet him, spend time, get a chance to spend some time with him, is going to be so influenced or inspired by the personality he carries, basically, right? Uh, there are like some specific things like which I came to know or I experienced during all the time I was able to spend or the few visits or few meetings I had. But again, truly a wonderful personality and a great leader, I can say. He has all the traits like that are required, and he's a continuous learner. I
Oh,
can tell you that. So being a continuous learner, like for me, for you, or for anyone, uh, really addresses if there are any gaps anywhere, basically, right? So we understand what is lacking today, where we need to work on. Tomorrow will be a better person.
absolutely. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you in a spot. It was just like
That's fine.
I
And
have
again,
seen your photos, so yeah. But
no,
thank you for that insight. And I think we have a few questions, just comments saying. I
in the
think
mean.
we're all agreeing with today's topic, and I think this is a very interesting topic. Most of them have shared their agreement. Um, so there is one question about like Harvard Business School. Do they? I'm sure they have their political leadership programs, right? So one of the viewers is just. I'll just show the question. Um, I'm sure they have the leadership programs, but currently, I think all over the world, the leadership is in a different kind. Like it's going towards the authoritarian way. Most of the today's leadership, it's not the same, and the deterioration has happened over a period of time. It's not just a one day wonder. But so your take on, like as sir mentioned, that it should be uh, like a teamwork, as we have always said, there should be a we. So how do we reflect on today's leadership, which is going towards like authoritarian in the US, in India, and many more places?
Uh,
So
yeah. So again, let me take it a different way. Like, and again, I'm trying to like maybe a little stay away from the overall political context here. But let me also talk about like something. Right? There are some myths like we should dispel when it comes to leadership. Often it is said like leaders are born, not made, basically, right? Uh, I think like this is a complete myth. Nobody is born as a leader. Like of course there are like through the years, like as somebody is growing, they see some circumstances, they see the environment, and some things they inherit basically on their own, right? But again, it's a skill that can be learned, right? It's a skill that needs a continuous improvement.
absolutely.
People say one often we always think about is like being a leader, you need to have all the answers to all the questions. I think leadership is also about learning and ability to ask better questions rather than being able to address or answer everything, right? It's one thing is also like mentioned or often reflected that it is also about control.
Yeah,
I think we should start seeing it in a different perspective. More than the control, it's also about empowering their team, enabling their team to do bigger things, to take over bigger roles, and also building that trust within your team, right? So build that trusted network around you. A gain of not followers, leader with leaders, and that is the value. Like that is the society we want to build here.
Absolutely. And also, in technology, like the sir has always said, that even if it's a technical world, we need to be more humanized, and it should, like as the slide says, it should be simplified. Only then, the leadership or the leaders will be effective in their goals. uh, Unfortunately, today we have so much of technology like AI, and everyone is hung up on some of the other influencer, which might not be the best of the best. But I think, for my experiences, like, people are more self concentrated today rather than helping out. Especially when you have social media going around with Facebook, with Instagram, and with monetization. So I think that that link between that connection is somewhere lost in today's uh, scenario. So I just want to, yeah, your take on it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Things are changing, but again, we have to be positive. We have to bring that message of the time that we have, or we spend with Sam every week on Saturdays. Uh, the purpose of one of the biggest purpose of this is for also the generation to understand and keep them positive or address those gaps. While there's a complete different the perspective that we see that you're reflecting towards, right? But again, it's also about giving over a little bit to back to the society, right? Where at least we can share this message, share our learnings, get people influenced, right? Get people moving towards the right direction. That is also very critical. Uh,
Yeah.
just yeah, go ahead, please.
No. I was just agreeing to your point that there should be also openness and networking with more of decentralization, which is the need of the hour, as per
And,
today's politics and today's things go
and
around.
yeah, and Prema, one other thing is any person we refer to in today's context, right? Maybe not on you were referring towards not on towards a positive note, right? But again, everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses. So even you pick up anyone maybe who you think maybe lacks a lot of things, but again, even in that person, you'll find some positive traits. I think our goal as a society is to really change those negative and of course keep on adding to the positive, find that balance at some point of time, and at one point of time if possible you move more people people to have more positive traits than the negative. Also, if you think about it, even in a business environment, even in a team environment, even in your family and friends, right, we have to understand individual strengths, right, and
Absolutely.
align them towards their goal. Appreciate those strengths that we have. Every person carries, someone could be a good communicator, someone could be good with the technology, someone is going to be good with understanding or could be a good listener, right? So we need to understand, and when we are building a high performing team, we build this team in such a way where we are able to really appreciate the value that person is bringing to the table.
Yeah.
And then accordingly we have to also address the values somebody needs to really work on basically, and we work there with them, along with them, together as a team, while we are also able to identify or get feedback from the team on the areas where we need to self develop. We often call in the corporate world this 360-degree feedback. You might have heard of it, or a lot of the
Yeah.
audience might have already heard about it. It's not only about really the feedback that we get from the top, because we always get the most important part is also to get a feedback from the people working with you or working who are supporting you basically. Are you an effective leader, right? Are you lacking somewhere basically, and it has to be completely open and transparent, right? So there, that's the most powerful somebody tool, so somebody should really kind of implement within their teams and on the framework that they are working on.
Yeah, truly, absolutely. And the one important thing you said was that we should bring out the positive in everyone. As you said, each one has a strength and weaknesses. So, as individuals at our levels, we should strive to, bring out the best in the other person rather than pulling them down and, demotivating them. We should try to be accommodative and motivational to help our even our working environments. Sometimes we struggle dealing with people. I think we should always see the positive side in each one of us, and that will bring out the best in every person. uh,
Mhm.
yeah, so
Absolutely,
that
and we can close it by like I
yeah,
remember one of the quote by John Maxwell, and as
yeah,
per him, a leader is one who knows the way, who goes the way and shows the way.
yeah.
So it's a very very important thing basically, right? To really take the team along together, be the guide, but be with them as well.
Absolutely. Positive note, and we have a
Like,
slide.
yeah, go on.
No, no, I'm saying on the positive note, and we have a slide saying love for all. So I think that should be the bottom line, because I think in the end, love and positivity wins. So
Absolutely.
that should be, yeah.
Great.
So good. Thank you, Upender, and we shall continue our session next week. So those who have joined us today, big thank you to all of you uh, for joining us every week. And next week we'll have a different topic to discuss. So I think we should end the show on this note.
Absolutely, Premada. Thank you so much. I see several good comments, and I cannot
Yeah,
close this session without calling this out by Dr. Ramesh K. Madan. Leadership need a clear vision, decisive action, and a unifying strategy. Absolutely.
absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
Really appreciate your time. Thanks, everyone.
and thanks